Thank you. Administrator Clark, one of the more refreshing things about the Arab Spring has been the independence of the people, that it's been homegrown, that the people themselves own the changes in the Arab Spring. And yet we're beginning to see this spirit of independence bounce back on the international community and international organizations. Fazia Al-Naza, the Minister of Development and Cooperation, that was recently quoted in the Wall Street Journal, she said, "I'm not so sure at this stage we need somebody to tell us what is or what is not good for us, or worse, to force it on us." And then on Sunday, they turned down a World Bank loan.
They've recanted on that.
Huh? They recanted? Oh, they recanted on it. Okay, but still, there is this turmoil in Egypt and questioning of the importance of international assistance. Can we do all the things that we have done and known as successful in the past and want to do now in Egypt and Tunisia?
I think one of the common themes of the three presentations was that the change needs to continue to be led and driven by the people of the societies themselves. And yes, there is certainly the issue of that change not being welcomed when it's driven from outside. I mean, I think you've got two pressures here. One is the pride in bringing about the change from those who drove it. But then you've also got the other issue, which Ambassador Walker articulated so well, about the change not being very deep in many institutions and even among personnel at this point. And so there's some of the old thinking about this combined with, I guess, the new thinking, which is, yes, we want change, but we're going to drive it ourselves. So it's not always easy to be helpful, but I think in our organisation, as across the UN ones, we always, try to align with where the forces of change are going, if you like, and to see how we can be helpful. And I think if everyone continues to acknowledge, as has been the case today, that the change must be indigenous, that's where the leadership's got to come from. But, there's a lot of things that could be done, including by great and powerful countries like the United States, which can be extremely helpful. I mean, Ambassador Walker has certainly set out for us all of the challenges, and these are very, very steep hills to climb, and the expectations are high, but expectations and a change to new constitution don't put bread on the table. One of the key messages coming through this Pathways to Transitions conference we organised with others from the Global South who've seen their own societies go through these changes was somehow expectations have to be managed. No leader of Egypt or Tunisia can deliver nirvana tomorrow. This is a journey. It's a process. And it's not going to be easy at all. I mean, the demographics are quite horrifying as they've been put out. The scale of how many jobs have to be created, how many new classrooms for children, how much more healthcare. I mean, these are huge challenges. But you have to start somewhere. And I think the spirit of hope through all this has been that a journey has been begun. But the end point will keep changing, and there will be bumps along the way.
Thank you. I'm going to ask one last question to Ned, and then we'll open it up to the audience. Ned, you and I have had somewhat of a similar career. Yours has been much more illustrious, but we've both been ambassadors. We've both been now president of the Middle East Institute. And I have to tell you, it's a whole lot more fun in many ways being president of the Middle East Institute, because you can sit back and you can take a look at a situation and analyze it and comment on it and express your own opinions. But as an ambassador, as you well remember, and as assistant secretary, whether it's a memo or it's a cable or it's a briefing to a visiting congressman, you have to also analyze and point out the problems. But in the end of it, that last para is the solutions, because you're responsible for making it better. I'd like you suggested a couple of things, better relations, that sort of thing. That was pretty thin. I'd like you to focus, pretend you're an ambassador again, and tell this group what can we do that would be helpful to fix some of the problems that you raised, good problems that you raised.
Yeah, take notes, Bob. First of all, I think that the President and the administration has done a good job of setting out some of the challenges that we face, that these countries face. And it's very important to maintain that verbal support for the moves that these countries take. They need that kind of encouragement and support. On a more practical level, there are a number of things that we can be encouraging them to do. For example, where my wife is working in venture capital, if you have a desire or a need to build a company, you might be able to get a loan. But in Egypt, only if you've got 100% collateral to put down. Now, does that make sense to you? I mean, is that a way for a young person to get ahead? And what it means is that people who have money can invest and get money, but it doesn't open the door to young generation to come in. Another area, I mean, in the regulatory area, as Bob pointed out, this is critical that these regulations be scrubbed so that they can encourage investment and they can encourage entrepreneurship. But in Egypt, if your business fails, you're liable for that failure, and you can be sent to jail and fined an enormous amount of money. What does that to do to creativity and initiative? It doesn't certainly help. There is a long-standing, and Bob will cringe when I raise it, but the free trade agreement. Been talked about for years with the Egyptians. It can help a country establish a greater trade and a more open economy. It can also be very difficult to put in into the United States and through our Congress. But opening the doors to greater trade so that it's trade and not aid that is helping to grow the Egyptian economy. And let's face it, regardless of who's in charge there and how many people have vast experience, in the time that I've been there, I found it very easy to work with people, that they are interested in doing something better and they are willing to listen, as long as you're not dictating. So I think there's a great deal of potential for the international community, for the United States, for other donors, to help the Egyptians see what the options are. Not to tell them what the options are, but to see what the options are, and then they can choose what's the best way to move forward.